Hey guys, what is going on? It is Brooke, or the Undead DM, and I'm back at it again with another video for you today. And in this episode, I'm actually going to be going over the subclasses for Targon the Ancient's fighter rework. Remember guys, if you like this comment, leave a like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more, and let's just get right into it. So, he firstly went with Arcane Archer as it is the first in the alphabetical order. And what we'll find here is that if we go to the Arcane Archer, you'll notice that you don't just get options anymore, you just get the arrows. The reason for that is because the arrows are honestly already kind of weaker than most of the maneuvers as it is, so just giving them to you straight up is fine. And also the shots are now maneuvers that you have to use with your dice. And in addition to that, these are always prepared at these levels that you get them. Now, one thing I will say about his fighter rework is that I do share the sentiment from Pack Tactics that I'd much prefer earlier level subclass features. So having 7, 10, 15, and 18 seems a little too late a lot of the times. I'd prefer a little bit of an earlier progression, maybe like 3, 6, 10, 14, and then 17. If we're really going to go with the 17th level feature, that's just me though. So the only thing that he's changed so far that I was able to find is that he added in the magical arrow section right here that you can cast the magic weapon spell as a 4th level spell once per long rest. Everything else is the same, except obviously the wording of Ever Ready Shot gives you 2 maneuver dice that you can only use for arcane shot options, instead of just having one option available to you whenever you start combat. He's also made the piercing arrow that was once an arcane shot option into just a baseline feature, where instead of it having to go through another enemy like how it used to do, where if we go here we'll find piercing arrow, 1 foot wide, 30 foot long, and each creature in the line takes damage. It's now just a creature that you hit with a magical arrow. Notice how it says with a magical arrow, it doesn't even have to be an arcane shot option. It could just be any arrow that is considered magical for the purposes of overcoming resistance and immunity. You can deal piercing damage equal to your proficiency bonus to another creature within 10 feet. It's a little bit better. It is a little bit better that you don't have to actually use anything for it. Master Marksman, I believe, is a new feature. And if I'm wrong, no, it is a new feature. So with Master Marksman, you can cast Conjure Volley and Swift Quiver each once before requiring a short rest. And I must also say that Magical Arrows before here. Oh no, it is still long rest. So Master Marksman is once per short rest, and the other ones are once per long rest, and you do it for the lowest cast. So, like I said before, the only things that he's changed in terms of the arrows are that instead of having piercing arrow be your transmutation option, it's now amplified arrow, that when it hits a target, it takes 2 rolls of your maneuver die. They are knocked prone and are stunned until the end of your next turn, and each creature within 5 feet of the target must make a dex save or take piercing damage equal to a roll of your maneuver die plus your intelligence modifier, half as much on a success. Everything else is the same, pretty much. These only made minor changes, mainly adding the tactical die cost and all that. Battlemaster has had the biggest changes, where Student of War before was you just gain Artisan's Tools. You now gain Artisan's Tools, or one type of Artisan's Tools. You also gain proficiency in the History skill, and another skill between Medicine or Survival. And Tactical Superiority, instead of giving you Combat Superiority like you used to get the maneuvers, you now just get 2 additional maneuver dice. or yeah, 2 additional maneuvers. Sorry, 2 additional maneuvers, and you learn 2 additional maneuvers at 7th and 10th level, and then you learn 1 additional maneuver at 15th and 18th level, giving you, I believe, 8 additional. So 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so you get 8 additional maneuvers instead of your usual 15 that you get. So you get a grand total of 23 maneuvers you can pick from. And in addition to that, reassessment is a new ability that wasn't present in the original Battle Masters, you'll see. And whenever you use your second wind, you regain a number of dice equal to half your proficiency bonus rounded down, which I think is a change that was very much needed. Because like I said in the class video that I will link in the description below, the problem was that you didn't gain your dice back until you finished a short or long rest. And yeah, a lot of parties are going to be taking short rests anyway, but if you run out of tactical dice in the middle of combat, there's just no way to get them back. So this is a very nice change. Eye for weakness, bonus action, you make either an investigation or insight check against the creature's performance check, and if you succeed, you gain advantage, or sorry, you gain a bonus to your to the attack roll equal to either your intelligence or wisdom mod, and it's not restricted to whichever check you made. So you can make an investigation check, but then use your wisdom if you so wanted to. Usually you wouldn't, because whatever skill you're using is the one that you have the higher number in, so I don't know. It's still a nice little thing that you could have. So yeah, that was changed from the original Know Your Enemy, where you got to know these, but a lot of the times your DM was not going to tell you the strength, dex, or con, and those don't really matter, because they don't tell you if they're proficient in those saves or what the saves are. The armor class you'll just figure out throughout combat. The current hit points, from my experience from my experience as a player and my experience as a DM, if we're one of those DMs that uses Milestone, we don't really keep track of HP. We kind of just have a baseline HP, and then we just kind of follow when we feel the fight has gone on long enough. Which I know is kind of a bad thing in the optimization community, like, oh, you gotta keep track of HP, and it gives players actual meaning to the fight instead of just hit the monster a bunch of times. But, that's just my opinion. Then in total class levels or fighter class levels, those weren't really used. So just getting a bonus it's a bit of a nerf, but I think it's a nerf in the right direction, where it's more widely usable and less niche. Relentless Mind, I think, is also a new ability. It's called Relentless Prior. It was at level 15, but now you gain 2 additional tactical dice, and when you roll for initiative and have no dice remaining, you gain these 2 dice back, which is nice. Then again, I wish it wasn't if you had no dice, and it was just if you have half or less of your dice, you gain these 2 dice, or whenever you rolled initiative, you just regain these 2 dice, and they can go over your maximum number of dice. That would be nice, but that's just me. And once again, they've replaced the improved combat superiority from 10 and 18th level, and they've replaced them with Cunning Warrior, where whenever you deal damage with your maneuvers, you can either add your intelligence or wisdom modifier to the damage. And Master Tactician, you choose 3 maneuvers at level 18, and then once per round you can use one of those maneuvers without expending a die. It's pretty good. Champion also has a few changes. You'll notice that the Cavalier is kind of is not here, and that is also very strange, but we'll get to that. So you'll notice that instead of improved critical and remarkable athlete, you're given peerless athlete and heavy blows. So peerless athlete just gives you proficiency in athletics and acrobatics, and your jump distance is doubled without needing to make a check for it like you used to. So, or have to do complicated calculations that not a lot of DMs really know the rules to. And on top of that, your heavy blows, you just deal additional damage instead of having a bonus to crit. Because in case you guys don't know, to crit bonus, your crit bonus is they only add about 1 point of damage on average, maybe 2 if you're lucky, if you get a high enough crit chance. So having an average of an additional 2 damage to your damage is not that good. But then again, more damage on top of that increases your DPR by a little bit more. So then at level 7, instead of Remarkable Athlete, we get Exceptional Physique, where you gain proficiency in con saves. And whenever you have to make a Strength, Dex, or Con check, or saving throw, I'm sorry, it's any check or saving throw that uses Strength, Dex, or Con, you can just give yourself advantage on it, a number of times equal to proficiency bonus per long rest. It kind of helps in those times where you don't want to waste one of your legendary resistances from Indomitable. It does help. Relentless Endurance, which was changed from the additional fighting style, which does kind of suck, but with how strong his normal fighting styles are, I think it's kind of warranted. Relentless Endurance, you gain resistance to poison damage and saves against being poisoned, exhausted, paralyzed, or stunned, and you treat death saves of 7 and above as successes, and you basically crit on a death save by treating any roll of 18 or 19 as if you had rolled a 20, which is nice. It's not going to come up a lot unless your DM is really brutal, but it's nice to have. So with Vicious Critical, you score a critical hit with a weapon attack. You gain a bonus to the attack's damage roll equal to your level in Champion. It's stagnant bonus, meaning it's not doubled whenever the crit happens. So it's like Great Weapon Master where the damage isn't doubled because it's added on after the fact. It's still very good damage because it's a flat bonus, meaning it's not affected by chance to hit, which wouldn't be affected if it was a crit anyway, but besides the point. So the only difference that I really don't like is Survivor was changed to, instead of being 5 plus your con mod, it's now 2 rolls of your tactical die plus your fighter level. It's strange that it doesn't add your con mod anymore. But then again, if it was just your con mod, it'd be too low. And right now it still feels like it's too little of HP. Because the maximum die size from your tactical dice is a d12. So 2d12 on average is 6.5. And so times that by 2, you're getting 13 plus at this point 18, so you're getting around like 30 plus HP at the start of each of your turns. It still feels too low because that's only a third of a Red Dragon's Fiery Breath. So it's going to take you 3 turns to recover that, but it doesn't recover past half of your maximum hit points. If this just triggered at half and it continued for the rest of combat, I think it would be a little bit too strong. I really don't know how you would make this a little bit more interesting, because I'm even having trouble with it. But I don't know, it just doesn't feel quite like enough. So then we're going to go on to Echo Knight, which we'll find out is very strange. So the Echo hasn't really changed all that much. So Chronologist Adept, which I think is a new ability, where you learn Minor Illusion and Intelligence is your spellcasting modifier for it. The Manifest Echo appears to have not changed all that much. It's still 14 plus your proficiency, it still only has 1 hit point, still is immune to all conditions, can still use a bonus action to teleport. Yeah, everything about it is the same. Unleash Incarnation, Echo Avatar, Shadow Martyr, Reclaim Potential I think is a new one. Nope, it's still the same. And then Legend of One is pretty much the same. So everything about Echo has stayed the same, except for the addition of another 3rd level ability. Eldritch Knight also hasn't changed all that much. It's still Intelligence. You get Detect Magic, which I don't think was part of the original class. I just want to double check. Yeah, so it wasn't part of the original, but you do get it. So you gain proficiency with the Arcana skill, and you can cast a Detect Magic spell as a ritual, but only as a ritual. It's pretty useful. And then you get Weapon Bond, which is pretty much the same. Yep, 2 bonded weapons, everything's the same here. War Magic has, in addition, whenever you use your action surge feature, you could take the cast a spell action as your additional action, which you could, if you guys haven't seen my previous video on his base class, he changed action surge to only grant certain actions and not just an additional action as a whole. So this is basically the only way you could get an additional cast a spell action as a spellcaster, is you have to dip 3 levels. You actually have to dip 7 levels into Eldritch Knight Fighter just to get that ability. Eldritch Strike is the same. Arcane Charge and Improved War Magic is pretty much the same, except I think Improved War Magic has an additional thing. Turn, you can forego one of your attacks to cast a spell. No, so it has changed. So before, Improved War Magic used to just, if you cast a spell using an action, you can make a weapon attack as a bonus action. Now, whenever you take the attack action, you can forego one of your attacks to cast a spell of a casting time of 1 action. And Arcane Surge, I just want to make sure. Nope. So it stayed the same. So Psy Warrior, nothing's changed here except that the maneuvers, the psionic power, like the protective field, the psionic strike, and the telekinetic movement, they've been changed into maneuvers. Psionic power is still the same. It's kind of like Arcane Archer in this sense, but with psychic powers. Mental Fortitude at level 7. It's been changed since Psi-Powered Leap and Telekinetic Thrust are now not a thing, it looks like. Yeah, they're not a thing anymore. So Telekinetic Adept has now been changed to Mental Fortitude, where you can grant yourself advantage on any intelligence, wisdom, or charisma saving throw you make once per long rest. Psionic Prowess has been changed. So Psionic Prowess replaces Guarded Mind, where now you gain 2 additional tactical dice, and they can only be used to use psionic maneuvers, and when you roll initiative and have no dice remaining, you regain these 2 dice. Guarded Mind has also been moved from level 10 to level 15, and you are now just straight up immune to being charmed or frightened, and you have resistance to psychic damage, and immune to any effects that would sense your emotions or read your mind. And Psionic Master, I believe, is the same, where you get telekinesis. No. So your weapon attacks deal extra psychic damage equal to your intelligence modifier, and whenever you deal damage with a maneuver, you can change the damage type to deal psychic damage. And whenever you use Psionic Strike, whenever you use the Psionic Strike maneuver, once on each of your turns without expending a number of tactical dice. So yeah, all of the things have been changed to psionic maneuvers. So Bulwark of Force, which was the 15th level feature, has now been changed to that. Combat Telekinesis, Protective Field, Psionic Strikes, Telekinetic Leap, Telekinetic Movement, and Psionic Link. So Telekinetic Movement, I believe, is just Psi-Empowered Leap and Telekinetic Movement put into one, from what I was able to read, and then Telepathic Link. Rune Knight also has not been changed, from what I was able to tell. Everything is still pretty much the same. You still got the Giant's Might. Where is it? There it is, Rune Knight. So Rune Knight, yep, you still get runes, but notice how you don't get a number of runes. I think, yeah, no, you just get runes. Yeah, so basically you just have a rune that you know at certain levels, and then you can change runes on a long rest. And you can touch a number of objects equal to the number of runes you know. So at level 7 you could touch 2 weapons, level 10 you could touch 4, yada yada yada. It's pretty much the same thing, and they just detail the same runes here. Samurai has been minorly changed, where Fighting Spirit is now, I think, proficiency bonus per long rest, instead of a number of times, instead of just 3 times. Yeah, so instead of 3 times, it's now proficiency bonus number of times, and you gain temporary hit points equal to your con plus your fighter level instead of 5 instead of 5. But you still gain advantage on all weapon attacks. Or you can expend 1 tactical die to use it again. Elegant Courtier, where whenever you make a persuasion check, you gain a bonus to the check equal to wisdom. You also gain proficiency in wisdom saving throws. And if you already have proficiency in wisdom, you can either become proficient in intelligence or charisma saves, your choice. Same thing here. Tireless Spirit, 1 use of your fighting spirit whenever you roll initiatives, pretty much the same. Rapid Strike, 15th level, trade accuracy, take the attack action on your turn, advantage on the attack roll, forego advantage for that attack roll to make a weapon attack against that target. It's part of the same action. Yep, same thing. And then Strength Before Death is also the same. And the Purple Dragon Knight has also been changed to the Warlord. And you'll notice that the Cavalier's not here. I believe that's because it was kind of melded into the Warlord, or they felt it not as useful. But skilled Orter, I don't know. So we're going to go to the Purple Dragon Knight. And they obviously remove the restrictions. Rallying Cry. So skilled Ortier, you gain proficiency in the Persuasion. If you already have proficiency, you can either gain proficiency in Animal Handling, Insight, Intimidation, or Performance. Your proficiency is doubled for any ability check you make using Persuasion, and you receive this benefit regardless of the skill proficiency from the previous sentence. So that's good. So a Battle Cry is pretty much the same. Whenever you use a second wind feature, you gain an additional use of your second wind feature that recharges when you finish a long rest. So now you have 2. And in addition, when you use your second wind feature, you could choose any number of creatures within 60 feet of you that are allied, and each one regains hit points equal to half the number of hit points you regain from the use of that feature, provided the creature could see or hear you. Before, it was just that each creature regains hit points equal to your fighter level, which a lot of times would only be 3, and since the second wind would heal you for a d10, you could heal more than 3, which is it wasn't that good. It did get changed here, and I'm very happy about that. Assertive Presence. So yeah, Rallying Cry and Royal Envoy was just changed in name and buffed a little bit. So now we get... Oh, also, Royal Envoy was a 7th level feature. It's now been moved down to a 3rd level with Skilled Ortier. And now we've gotten Assertive Presence, where you learn the Goading Cry, Menacing Cry, and Rallying Cry maneuvers if you don't already know them. They don't count against the number of maneuvers you know, and when you use one of them, you could target a creature within 60 feet of you instead of 30 feet. In addition, you can use each of these maneuvers once without expending the dice, and you must finish a long rest before you could use them in this way again. And if you already know any of these maneuvers, you learn a maneuver of your choice for each of the maneuvers you already know, as normally you must meet the prerequisites. So essentially you get 3 free maneuvers if you don't already have them, but if you do already have 1, 2, or all of them, you just get to pick however many ones you already have. So now we move on to the actual ability that we were about to cover, Inspiring Surge. So Inspiring Surge, how it used to work is that whenever you used your Action Surge, you could choose 1 creature within 60 feet of you, and they can make a melee or ranged weapon attack as a reaction. And then at 18th level, you could choose 2 allies within 60 feet rather than 1. Now, whenever you use Action Surge, you could choose creatures within 60 feet of you up to your Charisma modifier, and a creature can use its reaction to make a 1-weapon attack or cast a cantrip that has a casting time of 1 action, which does allow Warlocks to cast Eldritch Blast more, which is kind of funny. Bulwark, which was a 15th level feature, I believe is the same. So how it used to work is that you can extend the benefit of Indomitable to an ally. So whenever you use it to reroll an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma save and you aren't incapacitated, you can choose an ally within 60 feet of you that has also failed and grant them the same effect. Now, how it works is that when one or more creatures within 60 feet of you fail a saving throw against a harmful effect, you can use your reaction to cause a number of creatures up to your charisma modifier to succeed their throws instead. And if this feature is used before finishing a long rest, you must expend 1 use of your abdominal feature for each time. So basically, you get 1 free use per long rest, and then any time after that, you have to expend a use of your Indomitable. And they also added a final level 18 ability here, called Inspirational Presence, where creatures within 10 feet of you gain a bonus to attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws equal to your charisma, kind of like the Paladin aura that they got at level 7. And you can use a bonus action to increase the range of this to 60 feet for a minute, once per short or long rest, which the original didn't have. Overall, I think the exclusion of the Cavalier and the Gunslinger is a little bit weird. Cavalier especially, because it was a very niche playstyle, and for it being a mounted combatant, which in the optimization community is seen as kind of one of the best ways to play, is just Phantom Steed or Fine Steed or whatever kind of mount spell you can find, getting on that and then just using that for the entire combat, it's seen as a very optimal move. So getting rid of it feels a little bit weird. But then again, when you have a fighting style called the Cavalier, sorry about that. Anyway, like I was saying, when you have a fighting style called the Cavalier, I guess you don't really need it, because if we look back at the base class, you'll see that its fighting style, the Cavalier, while you're mounted, it basically gave you the same advantages that the Cavalier would have, but in a lot less space wasted. Though I would love to see Targon's take on a Cavalier subclass, and I can understand why he wouldn't want to cover the Gunslinger. The Gunslinger's kind of a mess. It uses firearms that don't normally exist in the DMG. It uses things that would actually fit very well as maneuvers, but it also relies a lot on crits and features of firearms that are kind of outdated, and a lot of people are just using a Heinz reworked firearm system, which is another person I have reviewed with his cooking system, link in the description below. But yeah, I think overall it is a very good set of changes. He really only changed what needed to be, altered some things, added a few, completely made Purple Dragonite actually worth a damn to use. And overall, I think his rework of the class and subclass are actually very, very good. Maybe just a few more refinements in a few small, minute places. Maybe adding the level progression a little bit earlier, because getting them at level 15 seems a little bit too late. And 18 again is way too late, especially for some of the abilities that you're getting. It's not really kind of upping the ante, making martials better at later levels. But overall, it is a very good subclass, or a very good class, that I would recommend you read up on. Like I said, if you haven't seen it, I will link it in the description below. And with that being said, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. And if you like this video, please leave a like, comment what you want to see next, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Laters.